The 4 temperaments in children. Just as the 4-letter type can be generated for adults from the questionnaire presented in Chapter 1, so can type be generated in a very tentative way for children from material presented in this chapter. The identification of preferences must be especially tentative, for observation of children cannot be as accurate as the self-report of adults when what is at issue is a person's own preferences. The following sections describe ways the 4 temperaments grow up. The growing up styles of the SP, SJ, NT, and NF are described in that order. A profile of each completes the chapter under the subtitle, Learning Styles. The Dionysian, sensible, playful temperament in childhood. The SP child is likely to be active, although he may have the same psychological response to food as some other type. His psychological response shows a greater enjoyment of food than that of his physical counterpart. He generally enjoys his food and is called a good eater. He also tends to get into messes rather quickly, much to his mother's distress. Leave an SP in the yard even for a moment, and he somehow manages to get dirtied. This often leads to a scolding. Only too often an SP learns early to be indifferent to such, oh my Lord, remonstrances. For reprimands have come too many too soon. SPs are less likely than other types to understand demands for clean rooms or neat and orderly closets. Their rooms are rather likely to be a jumble of toys, clothes, and valued objects, collected from here and there, all in an apparent disarray. But to the SP child, just as he wants it. He is too busy doing something to want to take time to hang and fold his clothes. Just so. And anyway, he would say, what difference does it make? Such nonsense is a waste of time when a person could be off doing something that is fun. I missed this pouring out of the hills over there. And yet, if an SP is so inclined, he can get involved in an activity which captures his attention for hours on end. He can spend day after day manipulating the lids on and off pots and pans. He can spend hours on a musical instrument of his choosing. He can manipulate his toys over and over, only to lose interest completely in those toys or that instrument tomorrow. Those who do not lose interest, of course, go on to become the outstanding performing artists, the outstanding graphic and plastic artists, the outstanding artisans of all kinds. The SP needs movement and excitement, and he hungers for contest. Given frequent change and some excitement, the SP is cheerful in the classroom. He brings fun and laughter. Whether or not this reaction is appropriate, the SP enjoys activities and throws himself wholeheartedly into instrumental play, musical performance, art activities, and games. He may enjoy the activity of working with tools more than caring about the product he makes. The SP appears to be flighty, jumping from one thing to another, disinterested in completion. He must do something if he is to learn. The more game-like the task, the better. The less an activity seems a mere preparation for something later, the better. The SP usually does well in kindergarten, where the action of playing with various objects may constitute the main curriculum. But as he moves through the grades and the work becomes more and more a matter of preparation, acquiring rules and facts through reading and writing, he becomes disinterested. The SP does not wish to prepare or get ready for anything. As the curriculum becomes less active, the SP does not find the activity and excitement he wants. As the demand is for concentration, he becomes restless and turns to activities of his own initiation. These often take the form of a disruption of class routines or increased absenteeism. The extreme SP can easily become restless, jittery, bored, and engaged in random action to such an extent as to be labeled hyperactive by foolish school and medical personnel, naively applying the curriculum. Physicalism. On the other hand, he can be overstimulated, get too excited and roused up, and not be able to calm down very easily. It is important that the SP be provided periods of quiet activities and training in relaxation. He needs space in which he can move actively, but he also needs his own quiet place. The proxemics, Proxemics, the proxemics classroom, where each student has his carrel around the perimeter of the room, is ideally suited to the needs of the SP learner. All right, looks clear. An SP is apt to be an active baby, although the introverted SP will be less so than the extroverted SP. Attempting to change an SP in any fundamental way leads only to maladjustment. He is not an SJ, nor an NT, nor an NF. His desire to perform supersedes his desire for responsibility, competency, and self-realization. He is not likely ever to be content to be confined in a playpen, but will want to be free to roam where his impulse takes him. He is likely to enjoy animals, although also likely to be somewhat rough with them. The SP child is apt to be rather hard on his toys and clothes, and should be given sturdy, well-made objects. Simple games and objects are likely to hold his attention more than complicated ones. Since the SP relates to others in a fraternal way rather than a parental way, he can be an excellent team player. He thrives on competition and contest. Equality is very important to have, as is liberty. He likes to talk with others. He has a need to control his own activities. Unless he has full control over whatever project he undertakes, he is likely to lose interest as others interfere. He prefers to discover his own order of doing his activities, although he usually enjoys interactions with others concerning his progress. To engage him, one must entertain him. He does not learn well as a passive audience to explanations. He must be actively manipulating, operating, or making something. Whenever possible, it is well to get him excited and let him risk himself. When an SP child is given feedback, this should be in terms of the SP's performance. Praise for the product of the activity would have more appeal to the SJ child. The SP child is likely to feel good about himself and about those who have control over him if he is provided a great deal of room to move about and given many opportunities for action. Lecture-type presentations should be short, as should his reading activities. Quiet, solitary learning activities are best interspersed with opportunities for the child to be active in some area of personal interest. Frequent change from individual to small group to large group activities also may help overcome the SP's natural resistance. Dramatization is especially appealing to the SP. He gets to be seen performing, and that's exciting. Sociodramas designed around issues relevant to the classroom and school. Role-playing opportunities. These meet the SP's need for actions. This is not to imply that an SP child should not be given practice in concentration, delay, or in dealing with complexity. He must develop these capabilities, and the first step to this development is to legitimize his natural preferences and recognize that this type of child tends by nature to avoid complexities, owing to his impulsivity and his low tolerance for delay. The SP can be a control problem in the classroom that demands that he learn exclusively in an SJ style. Such teaching techniques as tying an SP to a desk, placing him facing forward in a row of desks, asking him to interact only student to teacher, asking him to do his lessons because he will need this when he grows up, or asking him to work all day with abstractions on paper seem little more than exercises in futility. Such a situation so ill suits the SP that he turns away from school, enduring it only as long as he must and leaving it as soon as he can. Yet about 40% of the students in the ordinary classroom are of the SP style, which means 12 in a classroom of 32. It is quite understandable why this group tend to terminate their formal education with high school to frequent the continuation high schools and to be conspicuous by their absence in graduate levels in institutions of higher education. The SP learning style does not well accommodate the precept, learn today so that in some distant future college doors will open. The SP wants to be free to discharge the impulse of the moment, to be free to get involved in physical activity, to learn in an atmosphere of excitement where risk, adventure, and competition are part of the curriculum, where sound, color, motion abound. In fact, very often the one thing an SP finds holding him in school is opportunity to play a musical instrument. SPs frequent the instrumental music classes, probably because this involves both action and audience. And on these, the SP thrives. The SP style of learning seems out of step with the usual teaching style of most classrooms. The majority of classroom teachers tend to be SJs, and understandably, the SJ teaches in the SJ style. Thus, the young SP is told to have distant goals, to study because this is the way to prepare oneself for work or for further education, to save their pennies because that is the way to guarantee the future, to make plans because that is the way to get ahead, to develop many social ties because that is the way to have a place. These injunctions, however, do not make sense to the SP. To prepare is to set aside one's urges and impulses, and this will not do. Today is to be lived for the excitement it brings. Tomorrow can be left to take care of itself. Thus, here is the SP student, surrounded by mentors who are saying, sit still in class, face the front of the room, do your homework assignments, develop good study habits, observe the rules, work first, then play, if there happens to be any time left for such frivolity. Wait, get in line. And so the SP finds himself standing in line, waiting, conforming to routine, working for tomorrow, restlessly waiting for recess. None of this has appeal for the SP, and as he moves through school, he finds that it has less and less appeal for him. Consequently, the SP tends to be little represented at advanced levels of education. The SP does far less in school than he could do were he given sufficient incentive. Learning is its own reward, says the educator. Unfortunately, the SP doesn't get the message. This is the student who is apt to be a source of mystification and frustration to his administrator, teacher, counselor, and parents, all of whom are likely to be projecting their desire onto the SP, and the SP will have none of it. The Dionysian way asserts itself in early childhood and never lets go. We're going to stop there. The next one will be the Epimethean temperament in childhood. Like it said, we're going in order. Thank you for listening and being with me. I appreciate you.